I was hoping that it made the top 10 sometime the first month, but the next day, to my surprise, it was already #1, which was great. When I was 16 years old, I sat down with my father and my uncle in my kitchen, and my father pointed to the table and said, if I went to work for him, going to jail was all part of the job. The Ravenite was under scrutiny, was surveilled 24/7. You never see me on those tapes. I'm on other tapes. I'm on tapes, at funerals, at weddings, at his daughter's wedding, at Vicky's wedding. Hello, everybody. My name is Ruggiano Jr. I want to welcome everybody to Reformed Gangsters. And if you like our stuff, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell and become a Patreon member. That would be great, and get some access to me, some personal access to questions and answers. And, we'll all have a good time. So tonight, I'm going to go live shortly, but I just wanted to address some issues. As you all know, I'm pleased to announce that the show Get Gotti is #1 in the world, not only in the United States. It's a really good show. I had a lot of fun doing it. I was hoping that it made the top 10 sometime the first month, but the next day, to my surprise, it was already #1, which was great, and it's staying at #1. So a lot of people are enjoying it. I'm getting great DMs. Everybody's loving it. Everybody's, that I did good. The show's great, which I think it really is. They did a lot of stuff that nobody saw before, some tapes. They took some liberties. It's Hollywood, which I want to address because, my friend Michael, Francis, and even my manager, Pasquale, they don't really, they tell me to let it go, but, and I'm going to let it go, but sometimes it's hurtful when people try to demean you and they call you names and they rip you, they try to discredit you. And, it's hurtful, when people do that, when they have, it's uncalled for, they don't really know the truth. They don't know me, but they just want to keep calling, and it's getting relentless now. It's almost every other day now. And they know who they are, and everybody knows who they are. I'm not going to mention their names. They're calling me names and prankster and this and that, and it's hurtful. I don't do that to anybody, and I don't like it done to me. But today something came out where if you don't know the truth, you would think they were right. So and it's funny because when I first saw it with my daughter and realized what was done on the show, I told my daughter that these people are going to have a field day with that. And I was so right. You know what I mean? Like I laughed, I laughed about it with my daughter. And so what I want to say is, so the show in the beginning was supposed, I signed on 2 years ago to do Fear City 2. We filmed it 2 years ago. The production company brought it to Netflix. Netflix loved the uncut version so much, they came back to the production company and said they wanted to give it its own title. And because it was so good, they wanted to make it its own show, which was fine with me. Now, at this point, I did my filming. I was paid. I was out of the picture. I had no say in anything. It was out of my hands. They owned the rights to the film. They could have done anything they wanted with it, made it any way they wanted. I had nothing to do with it from that point on. I was paid, done my job. My job was over. They wouldn't even tell me the new title. They wouldn't even tell me the new release date. They said they'll tell me when the time came. Moving forward, they finally got back to us and they told me what the title was going to be called, Get Gotti, and it was going to be released October 24th. In the interim, I got a call. Now, everybody knows my stories. I told these stories 100 times on my own show, on other people's shows. When I was 16 years old, I sat down with my father and my uncle in my kitchen, and my father pointed to the table and said, if I went to work for him, going to jail was all part of the job. My father said that, not John Gotti. John Gotti never said that to me. My father said that to me. The other story I tell about going to Washington to see the Justice Building, that whole building is going to chase me all my life, was told to me by Tony Lee, not John Gotti, Tony Lee. Hollywood, because it's a docuseries and it's entertainment, at the end of the day, it's supposed to entertain people. So they take liberties. What was done was they spliced things together and put John Gotti's name into that story. Not me. Anthony Ruggiano did not do that. Hollywood did that. So before people jump to conclusions and call me a liar and play what I just said versus what was said on Get Gotti and then say I make shit up, let's get the real story. Okay, the real story is John Gotti never said none of that. Okay, that was spliced together for entertainment purposes because the show was Get Gotti, so Gotti had to be involved in everything. Okay, and I had no control over that. I had nothing to do with that, and that's the bottom line. And that's what happened. Now people want to jump to conclusions and call me names and try to discredit me and talk bad about this wonderful show that was done about the truth with John, with the FBI, with the tapes and everything that the whole world is watching. That's number one, because the only people that are out there that are saying it bad is this one entity, because that's all they could do. That's all they do is talk bad. If they think all of a sudden they're criminal investigators, they're criminal, they're not investigators. Not with me. They haven't got one thing right yet. With me, nothing. With me, they have gotten right. And that's another thing they didn't get right. So once again, John Gotti did not tell me or point his finger on the table and tell me I was going to jail, part of the job. John Gotti did not tell me to go to Washington, D.C. to look at the Justice Department building, that building would chase me all my life. I didn't go to John Gotti and Tony Lee for that. Tony Lee told me that on his own. That was spliced together, once again, for entertainment purposes. And I hope, in fact, it really has entertained people. And I think it is, because once again, I am in the #1 show in America. Me, Anthony Ruggiano. Thank you very much. If you're enjoying my show, please join my Patreon, ask your questions live, and please join my Patreon at reformgangsters.com. The second thing I want to talk about is a comment I received today, which is a really good comment, and it really deserves an explanation because it's an intelligent observation, and it was a good observation, and I believe that it deserves an explanation. Someone wrote into my manager and I. They watched Get Gotti. They loved the show. They liked me in it, but they don't understand why when the Ravenite, after John became, now, once again, let's listen closely. After John became the boss, the Ravenite was under scrutiny, was surveilled 24/7. You never see me on those tapes. I don't, you never see. I'm on other tapes. I'm on tapes, at funerals, at weddings, at his daughter's wedding, at Vicky's wedding, at Angel's wedding. I'm on all those tapes. At funerals, at Joe Gallo's, the Consigliere's funeral. I'm on those tapes. I'm on those pictures. So let me get back to my original thought. So the reason why, the comment was, why aren't I on any of them surveillance tapes at the Ravenite after John Gotti became the boss? Now remember, let's keep that in mind. After is the key word. I started hanging out in the Ravenite in the early 70s when O'Neill was the boss. I was there all the time, twice a day. The place was they never took pictures. It was very rarely they were there. I was there twice a week for years. Before John became the boss in the early 80s, I was there. When I was not in Florida with my father, I was at the Ravenite. I got out of jail in 1980. I got out of jail in October of 1980. The next day, I was at the Ravenite. I saw John Gotti standing outside the Ravenite that day, hugging me and kissing me because I just got out of jail. I just did 2.5 years. That was at the Ravenite. Now, I live in Ozone Park. I hang out in Ozone Park. I hang out at Cafe Liberty. That's another little thing, getting back to the picture. They made it they put in my mouth the Bergen Hut Fish Club. I didn't start my day off at the Bergen Hut Fish Club. We all know I started my day off at Cafe Liberty. That was another liberty Hollywood took for entertainment, which is fine. I had no say over it. I had no control over that. If I did, it wouldn't have happened. So now I'm in Ozone Park and John Gotti's in Ozone Park. When John became the boss, the Ravenite exploded. People that were never there before showed up there. Everybody wanted to be up John Gotti's ass. Everybody. The few times I went there in the very beginning when he became the boss, we didn't like it there. Tony Lee didn't like it there. I didn't like it there. It was packed, wall-to-wall people. It was insane. There was no reason for me to go there anymore. John Gotti started out every day in Ozone Park, where I was. If I needed to see him or Tony Lee needed to see him, because I was Tony Lee's driver, I would drive Tony Lee to the Bergen Hut Fish Club. There was no reason for me to go to the Ravenite anymore, because I saw John 3-4 times a week in Ozone Park where we lived. I didn't need to go to the Ravenite anymore. So I'm not on any surveillance because I wasn't there. It's not because I was on drugs or I got chased, because none of that never happened. I used to snort coke in the crap games I worked in. I never got chased because I blew coke, because everybody was blowing coke. So these people that make this stuff up, everything is good. So that's the reason why I wasn't in the Ravenite. I was there. I don't care. I went on Christmas Eve. I went on Thanksgiving Eve. I went certain times to see other people, but I didn't go there like I did when Neil was alive. Not at all. I stood in Ozone Park. I saw John in Ozone Park. I went out with John when I got clean in '88. I would meet him in Club A. I would meet him in Pastels. We would leave from the neighborhood. We would go to Peter Luger's for dinner or whatever, and then go to a club to top the Brown Derby in Brooklyn, and on and on and on and on. So that's why I wasn't in the Raven. And that's a good comment. That's a good observation, and that's a legit question. I like that, because that's where am I? And that's a good question. If I'm going to talk the way I talk and say the things I say, I should be held accountable, and that's fine. I don't mean I'm fine with being held accountable by people like that, not some other people, but people like that, because that's a legit question. As far as another thing that's going on now after Get Gotti and other stuff, like I said, 99% of the stuff is good. It's great. I love you. I want to thank everybody, and I'm not addressing just the bad stuff, because it's so great. It's just, it's blowing me away. The success of this show, it's blowing me away. My DMs are blowing up. My Instagram's blowing up. I just hit 21,000 subscribers today on my podcast. I want to thank everybody. And another thing I want to address is, not that I have to prove myself, because I don't. The people that like me are going to like me, and the people that don't like me aren't going to like me. And that's the bottom line, and that's fine. As long as everybody views it, and one way or the other, I'm okay with it. Just click the button. But another thing I want to address, and then I'm going to go live, is that I wasn't around, that I'm putting myself into pit, that I wasn't a big deal. And I wasn't a big deal, but this is the bottom line. Was I around? Was I proposed? Was I going to get straightened out? Yes, I was. My name was passed around. I was definitely going to get straightened out. Was I really that involved? Well, let's put it to you this way. This is how involved I was. I spent almost 14 years in prison. I got indicted for 4 RICOs. 4 RICOs. 2 with the state and 2 with the feds. 4 RICOs. Did almost 14 years in prison. My rap sheet's 8 pages long. Not that I'm proud of this. So for someone that's a prankster or not involved, I don't think he would be indicted for 4 RICOs if he wasn't involved in organized crime. Right? I mean, for someone that's not involved in organized crime to get indicted 4 times on a RICO seems kind of strange, don't you think, fellas? So I just want to end with that. And so I hope I explained everything. I'm sure they'll figure out some other way to get around what I just said, but that's the truth. I just want everybody to know, and I want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for the success I'm having. Everything's moving in the right direction. The show's off the charts. I couldn't be happier. I'm getting ready to turn 70 on Sunday. I wish I could do this more, but unfortunately, financially, I'm still have to go work 12-hour shifts at a detox, and that's what I do. You know what I mean? I'm off the next couple of days. So I just want to thank everybody. Now I'm going to go live, and if anybody has any questions, I'm going to go live for about 30 minutes. So I hope to hear from everybody.